Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a challenge to his leadership within his own coalition. I spoke earlier with CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell about what's happening in Israel and its potential impact on the Middle East and the United States. Chris, do you expect there will be early elections?
Ephraim, yes, I do. It's been a wild week here in Israel. You know, earlier in the week, there was a potential war with Hamas, then the ceasefire. Now, really a crisis in the coalition of Benjamin Netanyahu. He had a meeting earlier today with the Minister of Education, Naftali Bennett, who actually wanted to become the defense minister since Avigdor Lieberman, then the defense minister, resigned because of the ceasefire. So the prime minister's office is denying it, but I think on Sunday they'll really probably set a date for early elections, probably sometime in the spring.
All right, we'll be watching that for sure. What does this mean for Netanyahu's political future?
Well, it's precarious right now. What's happened, Ephraim, is that a lot of people criticized him for the ceasefire with Hamas. Earlier this week, Hamas fired about 500 rockets into southern Israel, and yet he accepted a ceasefire with Hamas. A lot of people in the South felt he was capitulating to terrorism. That's exactly what the defense minister said. That's why he resigned. So a lot of people actually to the right of Netanyahu are criticizing him, and that's why they're pulling out of the coalition, which will mean the end of his government, potentially, and then these early elections. So we don't know what those early elections are going to be right now, but we do know there was a poll taken right after the ceasefire, and his Likud party only got 29 seats. That's the lowest total in any of his polls in a long time.
What are some of his opponents saying in terms of that criticism you're mentioning?
Well, they're saying he capitulated to terrorism. Netanyahu, in his defense, is saying, I know things that I can't tell the public, and I did it for the security of the nation. And so there's a lot of considerations that he's taking into account. He really can't divulge right now. In his defense as well, he said that the IDF, the Mossad, and the Shin Bet all said it's not a good time to go to war with Hamas. And so he's trying to balance this idea of being a deterrent against terrorism and coming against Hamas for firing nearly 500 rockets into Israel. And right now, because of all these considerations, he's facing a crisis and a potential end to his prime ministership. He's been there almost since 2015. He's the longest serving prime minister in Israel's history. But we'll see what happens in the next several months.
Let's expand the conversation and think in terms of the United States. How will this affect the peace plan by the Trump administration?
Well, you know, President Trump said not too long ago that it was going to be maybe 2 or 4 months before the peace plan was announced. It's likely that it won't come before any elections happen. And the reason for that is that it would really complicate Netanyahu's position. Netanyahu and Trump have really been working closely on this potential peace plan. So it's likely it's going to delay the announcement of that plan till after any elections. And then Netanyahu, if he's reelected as prime minister, will have to build a coalition government once again. So certainly it's going to delay it at least a little longer than what President Trump has said.
It's been a busy week for you, and it sounds like it's going to be a busy weekend as well as week ahead.
That's right, Ephraim.
Thank you, Chris.